My name is Crystal, like Twila introduced me, and I've had the pleasure of being with Miss Jan. I've lived here for 9 years, so as soon as I started, and I started over in Liberty, it was like the day that I wanted to be, that I asked God to, Jesus to live in my heart. I ran to her after church, and she had spoke at Liberty one day, and I said, that is it, God, I have found my place, and I ran to her, and ever since then, she has been in my life. Amen. So 9 years later, here I am, continuing to go through Crossing to Freedom. You learn a lot. I went to a retreat over in Louisiana with Jan and Christian United Ministries, and that was the day that I released all of the baggage and the wounds from my mother and my grandmother. My mom, for whatever reason, chose not to raise us. She pretty much chose men over her children. So I'm the middle of my mother's 3, but I'm the oldest of my father's 7. And so my grandmother, the amazing woman that she is, chose to raise all of us. And I say all of us because she had 5 children. And at that point of time of me growing up, it just seemed like all of the grandkids ended up at Nanny's house. And for whatever reason, I am going to stand here and say I was the good one of the 15. There were 12 boys and 3 girls, and I was one of the few that did not. I didn't choose drugs. I didn't choose skipping school, not doing my work, not doing my chores. However, in return of that, for some reason, I was her punching bag growing up. Ironic to all of that, although my mother did not raise me, she was in my life. And when I was 9 years old, we got a phone call in the middle of the night, and we had to go. My grandmother allowed me to go. We had to identify my mother's body alive. She was beaten so bad and had been beaten many, many, many times. But this one particular time, we had to make sure that it was her. I begged her when she was able to leave and come back home. I begged her to come back to Nanny's house, which was her mother, and she did. And something just didn't sit right with me that night going to bed, and I begged my mom, and I said, can you please just sleep in the bed with me? And she said, no, Sissy, I'll be fine. I'll be right here when you wake up. I said, Mom, I'll sleep in the floor. That way I won't touch you, kick you, or move on top of you. And she said, Sissy, it's okay. Mom, I'll be right on the couch when you wake up. I woke up to a note telling me that she was sorry that she had to go back. And I didn't realize then that I carried that with me. So I am now, and have been I've been here 9 years, so 10 years I have been my mother's caretaker. I am her everything. I do her medical, I do her bills, I take care of all of it. And recently, my grandmother, as of February, I also now do that for my grandmother. However, she lives back home. I take care of everything down here, and then the physical part of it, her other daughter does, the doctor's appointments and things. I say that not for you to look at me and say, oh, poor, pitiful her. We all have a story. Mm-hmm. Every one of us have a story, whatever that may be. I say that because Crossing to Freedom has allowed me to stand here. When I first met Jan, I couldn't even talk without crying. I couldn't even say I love you without crying to her. That day in Louisiana, when I told you that I was set free, it was so amazing that I can't describe it, except it was like vomiting the words out of my mouth as I was crying, and I fell to my knees, and she loved me. And ever since then, I have been set free from all of those wounds. Now today, my brother calls me out of the blue, and he says, hi, sister. And I said, hi, Bubba. And he's like, and it was really low, and he said, hi, sister. I said, what's wrong? He said, why didn't Dad love us? And I said, what? He said, why didn't Dad warn us? And I said, well, he did love us, and he did want us. We were planned according to Mom and Dad. They wanted us. I said, but he just chose a different lifestyle, and he chose alcohol and women, and Mom chose men. And the blessing is that we're still in the same family. Our grandmother chose to raise us. And I don't know where that came from. I don't know why he asked. But then he asked about Mom. And I told him, I said, it's the same thing. She loves us. And even now today, she is continuing trying to restore that relationship between he and she. But he asked me today, and as I was driving here, I said, God, I really need you to guide my words and just speak through me, because I have known about this for many, many, many weeks, and just nothing was coming. And I said, I need you to speak through me tonight and let me speak the words that you would have everyone else to hear. So I say this. Crossing to Freedom, one night you may think, why did I even go? That was not for me. I didn't hear anything. I didn't know anything. Nothing spoke to me. But God is speaking to you in every single one of us that stands up here, whether it be our testimony or whether it be the teaching of that night. I like the way that Jan has chosen to do it, that a different person speaks every week, and I like it that way, because my story or the way that I teach a chapter or whatever may be different from Lauren or Jan or Twyla or whomever, and we all get something from someone else because it was spoke differently. So Crossing to Freedom will work if you just take a deep breath, release it, and allow God to work through you and speak to you. You just have to listen. So thank you, Jan.